This turned out to be a pretty beautiful day for those of you who are in person. The sun is out. I'm sitting in the sun over there. I'm warming up by the second right now. So happy to be with you all today. You know, we got 2 more Sundays, this Sunday and next Sunday, out here in this beautiful outdoor sanctuary. You know, I have to tell you, even though we've braved the elements, you know, through these months, this has been one of the more unique and special experiences I have had of church in my life. And so, though I am so excited to be all warm and cozy back inside that amazing sanctuary, it has been a really beautiful and special time out here. So please know, our staff, as we're preparing to go back inside, we have been working diligently. I'm not going to miss the wind. We've been working diligently, to make all the preparations to move back inside, with safety being our number one priority always. And so it's taken a little bit of extra work from us as we prepare for that. And I just want to give a shout out to Reverend Shannon and Mary and Carolyn and Shelly and Leela and Rand and Mike and John and Rebecca and Shayla for all of the extra work that you've been putting in. And yes, please, thank you so much. And I want you all to know we have some extra work that we're going to need a little bit of help with. So if you're willing to lend your hands and your heart, we have some jobs that you're going to be able to sign up for. So there'll be some sign-up sheets. There's just some little projects that we need some help on to make this last little push. So thank you all in advance for joining us and helping us get back into that amazing sanctuary, which I have yet to experience, everybody. So I am specifically excited for that. So yes, happy Halloween, everybody. I want to first take a moment to thank Reverend Shannon for her talk last week. I have to say, I have been saying, I am sacred, I am holy. You are sacred, you are holy. I've been saying that to myself all week, this past week, and I think it helped me wake up to the magic of life a little bit more. To see the ways that right here in the mundane, right here in the busyness of life, right here in the world with all of its complexity, we can still find these sacred moments. We can see our very lives as holy. And I notice there is a part of me that is always attuned to this, but I'm not always successful at fully living from that place all the time. So having a mantra that can come into my head that helps me to remember this, I found that to be so deeply beneficial. So I thank Reverend Shannon for her wisdom in that. And, just because I realize, I need that right now. We are still living through sort of this end of this pandemic. And you know what I notice right now? I feel like we've hit a whole nother level of pandemic fatigue. We have leveled up. Congratulations, we have leveled up in this area. I just noticed I've heard the word overwhelm. I've heard the word stress. I've seen people just kind of saying no to things more, which is a really good thing, actually. But I feel this sense that there's just still, we're holding a lot right now. We're still just holding a lot. And so this reminder of that we can live in the sacred, that we can live from this holy place has been really, really beneficial to me these days. And it helped to guide this talk. And, what do I do when I am feeling overwhelmed? I think the first thing I do is, first I trip about it a little bit. And then after I start tripping, then I usually do my best to reach out for support, right? I have this group of friends, we're all in this group text together. It's a WhatsApp chat, and we use it for random things, for sending memes and, dad jokes and, just ways to keep in touch over the days and time that we're not hanging out. And what I do notice is one of the things that we all use it for too is just to reach out for support when we're going through something. And I know we're all busy, so we're not always able to fully respond with a full written out text of a prayer or all of a full response. But often everybody will respond, and a few folks that I know that are like a little bit busier on that day, they'll just simply reply with 3 words: I got you. And for whatever reason, when I hear that, when I'm going through it and I see those 3 words appear on my phone and I really take those in, like something activates within my psyche. Something shifts within me when I just really take those words in. Like when I hear those words, like, I got you. It's like I don't have to carry this whole thing on my own, whatever that thing that I'm carrying. I got you. Something in me like literally begins to lift, and I notice that it like offers a greater opportunity for a shift as well. I can feel the ways that I'm being supported, and it makes this enormous difference in my life. It has, been the thing that has sustained me over and over again, like this feeling of I got you. And my notice is like when I'm feeling supported like that, when someone else reaches out for support, like I am so much more ready to offer that same support back, right? Like I'm more filled up and able to do that. And I realize how good that is for us, right? Like to be able to be a place for someone to land for when something hard is going on in their life, and to be able to just like be a presence and just to say to them like, hey, brother, I got you. Hey, sister, hey, friend, hey, auntie, I got you. I notice that is just like so good, and it's a powerful place and a presence to hold, just to be this presence of comfort. You don't need not needing to fix or change or give advice or wisdom, just to say like, hey, I'm with you. Like, I got you. You don't have to carry this all on your own, right? We got a rescue dog. I realize I'm talking a lot about my rescue dog in these sermons, but he's my little fur baby. I can't help it. But little guy, man, he's a middle age. He's probably like 7 or 8 years old, but he just got surgery. He just got neutered this past week. Poor little guy. And he kind of had a tough recovery, you guys. Like he was up every single night after the first few days of surgery, right? Not few days of surgery, but a few days after surgery. And he would just like wake us up, and I could just hear him like sighing and crying simultaneously, which I'd never heard before. He was just like, I was like, what is that? It's just blue. He's just crying. And it's probably after his pain medication had worn off, and we couldn't give him more at that moment. So we just had to like comfort him. And I noticed, like when I did that, when I comforted him, when I pet him, when I brought him a little bit close, when he was wearing that cone of shame and all, it helped. And I couldn't help myself, but like I noticed what I was saying to him over and over again. It's like, I got you, bud. Like, I got you. And so like, this feeling of in the midst of any challenge that we may be facing in life, that someone's got me, right? I feel like this is an incredibly important piece. Like as a human being, we're social creatures. We need each other in so many ways. And I think this feeling of I got you is just a recognition of that, right? Just a recognition of like, hey, we can reach out at any moment. And so I realized, as we were celebrating this holiday today, this Halloween, that we can do this not only for folks that are in our lives, for our friends and family that are here, but also like we can have the same relationship with those who may not be with us in physical form, that those who may have passed on already, right? Like in many cultures around the world, including my culture and Japanese culture, there's this deep belief that our ancestors are still very much alive and present in our world, right? That they have transitioned from this physical plane, but they're still looking out for us. They're still comforting us. They're nourishing us. They're still keeping us in line a little bit sometimes. But they're protecting us, always. There's always that feeling of protection when I think about my ancestors. And it made me think of this celebration that we're having tonight, Halloween, which has, gone through many iterations over time, but has its origins in the ancient festival of Samhain, which Sarah beautifully sung to in our meditation this morning. And it takes place this very night, this time right between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. It's a time to both celebrate the harvest and also prepare for entering the dark, cold winter time, a time that's often associated with death. The Celts believed that on this night, the boundary between the worlds became blurred. Though Samhain is an ancient festival, first celebrated over 3,000 years ago by the Celts, by the 9th century, the influence of Christianity had spread into Celtic lands, where it eventually became supplanted by older Celtic rites, and by 1000 AD, the church actually made November 2nd All Souls Day, which was a day to honor the dead. And halfway across the world, right, coming out of the Mexico region, there's also another holiday that occurs on November 1st, which many of us might be a little bit more familiar with, of Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, right? It's a very much less solemn holiday than All Souls Day. It's less about mourning and more about celebrating and honoring those who have come before, right? Those who have passed. And we do so by telling stories and sharing in food and drink and bringing, really consciously bringing the energies of those who are on the other side consciously into our lives, to not be afraid of that, to welcome those energies back into our world. And Samhain has a similar kind of energy to that as well. I find here in our American culture, we're not very good around death. We're kind of fearful of it, I think. And so I think it's kind of a little bit weird to be celebrating and be kind of joyful and to be brave and really bringing the energy of those who've passed on, because maybe we are still developing in our American culture our relationship to death and to mourning. But I realize, right, still in the midst of that, we celebrate Halloween, even though maybe it's a shell of what it originally was. But we are celebrating this holiday, and so we have an opportunity every year to take part in this belief that so many humans across time and across the world have believed that on this very night, the veil between this world and the next is thin. It's thin. And we have greater access to those ancestral energies right now, to the wisdom and the guidance of those who have come before. And that we can not only gain access to that, but we can allow ourselves to be supported by those energies. To feel that our lives are much bigger than this little one that we're living, that our lives actually push far back into the past and reach far out into the future, and we are all get to be a part of that, right? Dr. Ernest Holmes, he talks about this continued and eternal relationship with those who has transitioned out from this physical realm. And he gives some great insight into how we can hold them in love based on the realization that our souls are indeed eternal. He says, "It is human to grieve over the loss of dear ones. We love them and cannot help missing them. But a true realization of the immortality and continuity of the individual soul will rob our grief of hopelessness. We shall realize that they are in God's safekeeping and that they are safe. So we shall view eternity from a higher standpoint, as a continuity of time forever and ever expanding until time, as we now experience it, shall be no more. Realizing this, we shall see in everyone a budding genius, a becoming God, an unfolding soul, an eternal destiny." This particular night, we have created a ritual and a ceremony and a celebration to remind us of the eternality of our lives, right? Even though we may miss and we still may be grieving those we've loved who have passed on, right? Even though our ancestors may feel far removed from having any influence on our lives and perhaps remain unknown to us in that way. When we make time for this, when we make time to approach this time of year by making room for those joys and memories, to not be afraid of them. For when we can think about the long line of adventurers and survivors, of immigrants and of brave dreamers that we come from, if we make room for those energies in our lives, we are given something, like we are gifted something that's way sweeter than candy. And if perhaps our family relationships have been strained in some way, like we can take this opportunity to reclaim our connection to our family ancestry. Like no family member is a gatekeeper to our experience of our ancestry and our ancestors. And so we can restore our connection to our ancestry on this night. And if we do so, if we allow ourselves to really do so, we can also be supported by them. The resilience of our grandparents, the kindness of our aunties, the bravery of our ancestors, the beauty of our cultural heritage, we can make room for those energies in our lives and allow them to guide us, to support us, to protect us, to live within us, to provide a place for that, where in our darkest moments, right, we can reach back out to those who have come before and make a space for them. And if we do so long enough, I guarantee we'll be able to hear them whisper, like, I got you. Raquel Cepeda, who's a journalist and a filmmaker and author of the book Bird of Paradise, How I Became Latina, she says it beautifully in this way. She says, when we illuminate the road back to our ancestors, they have a way of reaching out, of manifesting themselves. So we know our job is to illuminate that road back to them. And we do so simply by keeping their memories alive. And somehow, just by doing that, by celebrating them, by feeling the ways in which our ancestry lives on, not just in our DNA, but in the strength of our character. Like we allow ourselves to be supported by something greater than this little, isolated form that we are walking through the world with. And it makes me think too, just like interpersonal relationships and friendships, like this is a two-way street as well. As we allow ourselves to be supported by our ancestors, as we make room for that, we also offer an opportunity for us to support our ancestors as well. We can seek to live a life that honors them, that seeks to carry on those qualities and accomplishments that they embodied. We can live that legacy, but we can also do this, y'all. We can also vow to heal and correct some energies as well that perhaps need some healing and correcting. We can be the person that decides, that is brave enough and bold enough to heal perhaps a line of trauma that has been passed down, right? And we can say, for this short time that I have in my precious life, I'm going to do my best to heal this. So this little thing that perhaps has been passed down from generation to generation, it stops with me. It stops with me. And by doing so, right, by doing that work too, not just by carrying their strength, but by being bold enough to maybe heal the things that they weren't able to heal in their lifetime. We honor them too. By doing so, we can think back to all of those who have come before, and we can say, hey, I got you too. I got this, and I got you too. So this feeling of I got you, that happens with friends, with family members, and even with those who have passed on, I realize that this can not only happen with those kinds of energies, but it can actually happen with the relationship that we have to the divine itself. And I know this is a relationship that we all are on a continuous journey of fostering, of cultivating, of becoming more familiar with, of trusting a little bit more. This is a lifelong journey. And I realize that this can be a practice, and that this feeling of I got you, that something greater than us has got us, can become a spiritual practice that we can utilize this spiritual practice to help us remember, no matter what's going on, there's something greater that's holding me, that's supporting me, that's protecting me through this, right? And I can lean into that. If I don't have people I can lean on, if I'm not connected to my ancestry, I have the divine. I have God. I have spirit. I have this something that is ineffable, that I don't even know how to fully describe, that perhaps I've only had a few experiences of in my life, but I know like those experiences matter. And I know that like I can cultivate a relationship with this energy so that I can, especially in times of need, lean into that, reach out for that, and fully allow myself to be supported by that. I realized like I felt this energy a lot like in times of stress or change, right? Like in fact, it's honestly been really present in these past few months because hey, it has been amazing to move here. Like I love it here. I literally walk around every day in awe and gratitude that I get to live here. And new job, new place to live, making new friends, creating new support systems. You know, none of my family and friends are here. It's been a lot some days too. It's just, those are all just things that create a ton of stress. And so I've needed a sense of something to sustain me. And I found that this relationship with the divine has been like deeply present in a way that perhaps it wasn't when everything was cozy and comfortable in Colorado. I've been having to lean into it a little bit more, and I've had to allow it to be present in my life in a deeper way. I love how Catholic monk and Christian mystic Meister Eckhart, how he talks about God. It's a simple statement, but I find it to be utterly profound. And this is what he says. He says, "It is a lie, any talk of God that does not comfort you." It is a lie. I love this, right? I love this idea that like any thought that we are having of the divine, of God, whatever that is for you, any thought that we have that does not bring us a deep sense of comfort, that's a lie. Like we're getting cold. And to get warmer of what that mysterious, ineffable, absolutely incredibly powerful energy within us is all about, perhaps as a compass, what we can use at all times is when we are feeling comforted by this presence, when we allow ourselves to simply like just be in our life exactly as it is without needing to make crazy changes or without needing to control things in a way or hold too tight, when we can just simply be here in the presence. And we can allow a sense of comfort no matter what's going on to wash over us and within us, and to smooth over any rough edges we may be holding inside of us. According to Meister Eckhart, like that's a direct experience of the divine. And so when we are feeling comforted by that, we can allow ourselves to say like, hey, I know something greater than me has got me in this moment no matter what. Even though I feel untethered, I know I am tethered to something deeper within me, and I'm developing this relationship now. The Saint Rabia of Basra, who lived in the 8th century and who comes out of the faith tradition of Islam, she's one of my favorite poets of all time, and she has this amazing line that I think illuminates this sentiment beautifully. She says, and I just love this so much, she says, "Show me where it hurts," God said, and every cell in my body burst into tears before her tender eyes. I don't know why I get a little verklempt when I read this statement. And so I think it's this idea that like there's this presence that like knows me so deeply, like knows me so intimately, knows me so personally, that I don't even have to say or explain it. Like I don't even have to fully articulate whatever it is that might be bringing me suffering or anxiety or whatever it is. Like I don't even have to talk about it. There's something within me that already knows. And there's something within me that's already seeking to help me lay down that burden. I don't even have to say a word about it. I was in a prayer circle with a bunch of young men back in my 20s, and we were out camping one night. And yeah, we were doing like sort of this round of prayer around the fire. It was no like sort of tradition. We all came from different traditions, but we all just wanted to put our energies, into that circle. And this one guy in the circle, he always kind of said the same prayer, and it was some iteration of this, and I'll never forget, how he said it. He said, he would always say just like, "God, you know the pain that I am carrying within me right now. I give it to you. I lay it down before you so that something new can grow within me." It's like always like one of the most powerful prayers I've ever witnessed. Because I felt this intimacy with the divine that I don't think I'd ever seen or experienced before. And so I realized, right, like when we think about this, like the fact that God's got us, that we can lean into that and we don't even have to know. We can simply just stay open to the ways in which we can be comforted by something greater than ourselves, yet by something that's so deeply personal. And know that like God's got us. And even here, like as we close this talk today, like even in this relationship, this is a two-way street as well. Like as we believe that God's got us, as we allow that in our lives, like we can then become supporters for this unconditionally loving and divine energy in the world, right? Like when we allow this energy to flow through us, when we live from this place, that's how this divine energy gets into our lives. That's how it enters into our families. That's how it enters into our workplaces. That's how it enters into our systems that are healing in need of more equity. That's how it enters into the places that are calling out for it the most. It is only through us. And so we can say like, hey, God, I got you too. Like, I'm willing to step in and step up and be a place where your energy and this divine love energy like can be in the world in a bigger way. I'm going to be that. I'm going to be that as best as I can. I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm vowing to do that. And by doing so, right, like to me, this is what social justice work is really all about. And those of you who took my class, I think you probably got that. Right? This is about just being willing to be brave enough and bold enough to take a stand for things that are rooted in love, that are rooted in dignity, that are rooted in humanity. And by doing so, we become actually closer to the divine, that energy that we're always seeking for ourselves anyways, right? And so it compels us to move into the world. It compels us to say, hey, I'm going to be this vessel too. I'm not only going to ask you for this divine love, but I'm going to be a conduit for that divine love in the world, right? So Saint Teresa of Avila, who's another famous saint, she says it this way, and I just want to close with these words today. She says, Christ has no body. Christ has no body but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes with which he looks compassion on this world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands with which he blesses all the world. Yours are the hands. Yours are the feet. Yours are the eyes. You are his body. God has no body but yours. No hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes with which God looks compassion on this world. God has no body now on earth but yours.